Hey everybody, welcome to Trendy Trading. My name's Jonathan. Let's go ahead and get started with this week's BMA or broad market analysis. We'll be covering tonight futures the 23rd of October into the 28th of October. We currently have about 7 trading days left in the month. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 6 days, including tonight for futures. Just so you all know that, we'll be concentrating on the monthly candle this week. I'll be stepping right into it, talking about SPY here just in a few seconds. So the first thing is earnings. Coming over to Earning Whispers. This is what I've been using for many, many years. It's free content. It's right here on Twitter. And you can see they do a very good job of just running down who is reporting this week. And as you guys can see, this is a very important week for earnings. There's no reason for me to highlight certain names because it is jam-packed and we are ready to have a good time. And I hope you are too. And then going over here to the economic calendar, you can also get this for free. This is Market Watch that I use here on the internet, and we'll be covering again the 24th of October into the 28th. And all you have to do is just kind of come in here. This is Eastern time, and it gives you an idea what is coming up. Typically, what I'm looking for is if any Feds are talking, FOMC, PPI, CPI, those type of things. And so just come into this area here. You can take this URL and find your way into that area as well. Okay, so again, just earnings. We got economic calendar, and then let's go ahead and get into it with the bigger look, and then we'll go into the smaller picture as well. We'll try to make this as quick as possible. So on the SPY, bigger picture using the monthly chart, possible inside candle forming, and resistance comes in at around 381.08, and support of the monthly candle is 367.38. And you can see those two levels that I have here. This is the yellow and then the green for support. And again, we are in the monthly cloud, so I would expect it to be pretty choppy inside of here. And again, that support puts us just right underneath the cloud. And again, we have about 6 trading days to see if this is actually going to hold inside the cloud or if it's going to continue to be an inside candle. The only way that this candle is voided and not an inside candle is if it drops below this previous candle here, and that would be around 357 and some change, 357.32. Okay. Looks really good if the bulls can close the month over the cloud and above 367.38. There is monthly supply just above, and you can see that with the monthly inside and down, and then we have a quarterly inside and down as well. And let's see, far as the COVID rally, so starting here on the pivot low into the pivot high, we're very close to the 38.2. So the Fibonacci of 38.2 says we're still in a bearish channel. And if we stay in that bearish channel, I would expect prices to continue to go down to the downside. But again, there's a lot of signs pointing that we were going to come into a rally. We saw that rally, and especially there on Friday. And if the rally can continue, it needs to get over that resistance level we just talked about. But please be warned that if we push above here, be careful as we approach that monthly inside and down formation, which is saying that is supply. Again, that is the SPY bigger look. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and take you into QQQ. That also is going to be the monthly look. And let's go ahead and take a look at this. Bigger picture using the monthly chart. Possible inside candle forming just like the SPY. 6 more trading days left in the month. The 618 of the overall rally of COVID. So if we were just to take right here and draw some Fibonacci's, come up to the pivot high, you'd see that we're holding that 618. We've been going over that for the last several weeks and months, and you can see that we are holding that level. Okay. Now, that is around 268.17. Again, the 618 is around 268.17. All right. And the bullish channel for this current candle is 273. So we need to hold that 273 level. We closed out at 275 on Friday. All right. So it would be ideal to close over this level this week for the bulls. Resistance above towards the monthly cloud. Okay. So right up here, and I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see that. That is the cloud, and it has been tested before, and as you can see, it is resistance, and I would just be cautious as long as we are staying underneath that. Okay. All right, this is also very close to the 23.6 of the recent downtrend. And when I say the recent downtrend, what I'm saying is I'm measuring Fibonacci from here. Okay, and the 23.6 happens to be right around that cloud. So a lot of resistance in there. Just like the SPY, if we can get over resistance, then you could see a move up into the supply zone. I would be cautious right into this red box, as this is where most retail traders would gain a lot of FOMO and start to feel like everything is okay, but again, running you right into supply. So just be careful. Now that we talked about the bigger picture, I do want to note a couple things. SPY is about $20 from its monthly supply, and QQQ is about $25 from its supply zone. So we have some room to run, folks, all right, if the market needs to do so. If support levels hold this week, I do think that we can see that $20 and $25 respectfully, okay? All right, let's go ahead and move on to the neutral strategy. This is our neutral strategy for this week. And if you guys saw last week's results, those were absolutely amazing. I hope you crushed it, which I know many and many of you have. But let's talk about this week, okay? So basically what I did was put Fibonacci together, supply and demand, and I came up with another amazing neutral strategy for this week. The video is on YouTube. If you don't know how to trade this, please go watch that very short video. I believe it's like probably 5 minutes long or so, and it's going to teach you how I trade this, okay? Now, the big thing to take into consideration, I'm just showing you the 4-hour chart going into this week. And when we back it up and look at it like this, you can see that the SPY here on your left-hand side and the QQQ pretty much look the same, right? So we're coming from a downtrend. So this is an up trend within a down range. So let me say that again. Down range, okay? And then uptrend within it. But notice we are still making lower highs, okay? So where does this trend really buck its overall down range? I think if we could start to bid above these previous highs, okay, then we're making a higher high within that down range, okay? But now that we spoke about that, I'm going to open this up just a little bit. I want you to go ahead and take a snapshot of that. That way you can have the targets to the downside and the targets to the upside. Couple notes here on this week. You can see here possibly seeing an AC/DC setup. Now, the AC/DC setup, I won't go into specifics, but basically what we're looking for on an AC/DC setup is once price gets over the DC and can hold that, we call this an AC/DC. AC/DC equals ME, okay? Just like that. I know it sounds crazy, right? But it's really straightforward. So basically what I'm saying is if we can hold the levels here, we can see this level. And the probabilities of that happening is about 85%. Again, need to hold above that decelerator, okay? All right, so that's what's going on here. So it is a possible AC/DC setup. Remember, every level to the upside is resistance until proven otherwise. Notice over here on the QQQ, I said weekly cloud resistance, okay? Just letting you know. Okay, if you start to get too bullish, you start to get too much FOMO going on, don't forget technicals over everything else. So as price rises in here, I'd just be super careful bringing those stops up and making sure that you're trimming out of profits. And for me, if I'm in portfolio mode and I'm trading to the upside, I want to make sure that a lot of my longs, I'm trimming into this resistance up here as we get here. And then as we get there, we'll just coach day to day. Okay, and that's part of the advantage of being here at Trendy Trading is I go over that every single morning and give you your roadmap to success. All right, so right above that, we have resistance on the monthly. So again, up here towards 286, a lot of resistance. And so those are just things that I wanted to point out over on SPY and QQQ. My overall sentiment on these guys going into this week, we have big names reporting. I feel like if we can't take out these previous highs, so right here on the Qs and right over here on the SPY, then this could be a great area to sell some credit until we find out whether or not the market wants to continue its push up. If we take out the highs here, raise those stops, have a good time, and then let's aim towards these targets to the upside. I'm not really wanting to go short, folks. Matter of fact, into earnings season, what I prefer to do, and this is if you can do it, is I like to sell call credit spreads if I'm on the fence. So if I come into a neutral situation where I've made money to the upside, we're coming into supply, but you have all these back factors like earnings and hey, well, if Apple does this or Amazon does this, then this can happen. Instead of me trying to speculate, is I would much rather sell credit, and if I'm wrong, I just buy back the short side and continue to the upside. We do that a lot here at Trendy Trading, and it's one of my favorite plays when I come to a point where I want to short. I don't think the short is necessarily worth the risk right now because we're just kind of getting started on this, and we'll go through the bigger picture here in a second on the ES futures, okay, and the Nasdaq futures. All right, moving on down. The next thing we want to look at, we're going to go back over here to TradingView. And on TradingView, I'm going to type in DXY. That is the dollar. All right, and we've been tracking this on a monthly for a very, very long time now. All right, the bigger picture actually looks like this, folks. All right, we have this really big pivot high up here. We've moved up to about the 38.2 or so. It was very bullish, and the first sign that we want to look for is a topping wick. And we could see that that topping wick came in last month. Now, what that tells us is that for right now, right up in here, that bears are in control, right? So I don't see the dollar pushing over this high until I see it pushing over the high. Matter of fact, we have a lower high here, and my note to the room here is that the dollar is finally showing that sign of a possible inside candle, and that is this red candle right here. And on the monthly after 5 months of a rally. But again, this candle has 6 trading days left. Anything can happen. So it's too soon for me to say whether or not I think this is going to lead to, a pullback or a continuation higher. What I do like about it is that we right now are an inside candle, and that makes for a really easy setup going into next month. So I really want to see this candle at least close down underneath the last month's body, which is going to be at around 112.17. And let's just kind of zoom in here and make sure we get that right. Yeah, about 112.16, 112.17, okay? So if price can stay under there, I really like that idea. And you can see we're at 111.86 or so. Really liking what I'm seeing here. So caution above, but if we continue to move down underneath, last week's high, I guess you could say, or low, then we could see price coming all the way back. And remember, this is my target down here for the US dollar. I think we come back to test this cloud. We'll push off of that cloud. We'll flag for a bit, but I think we come back into demand to come all the way back towards 103 and possibly towards 96 again. Okay. Again, that's voided. If we take out the high and build a base above here, we could see 113.50 and then 123.85 into the future. Okay. Next thing I want to look at is the TNX or the Treasury. This is really important. The biggest thing here that I talk about is I just want to see it settle down, right? We all want to see it settle down. So the first thing last week, we said caution above this 3.999, and we did see that caution going into Thursday or so. Risk was kind of off for a bit, but then Friday, nice little return. You could see that we settled down basically, and if you come over here to a 5 minute, you could see that. And if I come over into the daily, you will see right here that, it was a nice inside. So I'd like to see the TNX come back a little bit further, down to about 4. That would be nice. And then over here on the weekly, come back into the EMA cloud, which puts us at around 3.68. But again, caution as long as we stay above that 3.999. Okay. That is the TNX Treasury. Let's go ahead and move on to the skew. If you don't know what the skew is, please look it up on Google. Basically, it's your hedge funds and how they're positioning themselves, and I like to keep track of this. The skew is very low at around 116, closing in on the week. Typically, if you want, you could just copy this chart. I use it all the time. You could go back and study how the SPY reacts off of this. As I said last week, moves down to the low like it is right now, typically will give us a really big rally. We started to see that last week. Overall, though, we'll get into it when I look at the ES futures. We're pretty much just in a channel, although we love these 100-point days to the upside or downside, but we're really not going anywhere. And the risk on, take it for what it's worth. The risk on in 2022 has only lasted about a day to 3 days. Okay, we had one good rally, I think, that lasted about 2 weeks or so. That was fun. But in 2022, 1 to 3 days is all I'm expected until I'm surprised. Okay, so again, just take this as a tool and know that the TNX is saying, or sorry, the skew is saying risk on. All right. All right, the next thing is going to be our fear and greed. So we'll just come over here to fear and greed. This is actually shocking to me because we were here and then we were kind of here in extreme fear. And then in 1 week, we went all the way back to neutral. I'm not too sure I believe that. But I don't think everyone just said, okay, yeah, I'm a bull now. But looking at Twitter, you never know, right? We were bullish several days ago, several weeks ago, looking for just day-to-day trading. But the overall technique for us is knowing that we came into demand and then we get into a smaller time frame and then we look to execute off of the idea that we came into demand. Okay. All right, so that's your fear and greed. Now let's go ahead and go back over to think or swim. Okay, and so we're going to pull up this ES chart. For anybody that doesn't trade ES, do not feel like this is where you want to stop watching the video. This is actually super important. And I'm going to give you some numbers really quick that should help you out. So anytime you trade the ES futures, every 10 points equals $1 in the SPY. So you can use this blueprint and just trade this and trade SPY off of this blueprint. As long as you have targets and you could do, addition, then you will understand where the SPY can go by looking at these charts. Okay, so this is ES futures, and what is really important about the weekly, and I'm going to run you from the weekly into all the way into tonight. The ES, as far as the weekly is concerned, I like that we're seeing a little bit of the selling pressure ease off. Red to black right here. This definitely got my attention. We came down to my target 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago. Now we hit that target almost to the tick. We pushed up from there, but the only issue that I'm having is that we are pushing very close into resistance. I already brought that up on the SPY, so the ES futures kind of leading that. The futures, right? Example, letting us see what's coming into the future. We are getting very close to resistance. This is also a trendy edge, this blue level right here. And so both of those stacked up tell me just to be a little bit careful if we open up there. 37.81 was my target from 2 weeks ago, remains my target. The question is whether or not we can get above it. Let's go ahead and go into the daily. We're going to auto zoom there. Pull this over. There we go. Looks just like this. So these are my new trigger long, resistance, and trigger short off the daily. You can see that we are in the supply zone. We are in the cloud as far as the day is concerned. This trigger long is basically support. All right. Don't get this twisted. I do trade a process around this. Just because it says trigger long doesn't mean we just necessarily go long. What I like to see is price pull back into there. Then I'm going over to a smaller time frame and assessing my indicators from there, and then deciding whether or not I'm going to go long off of that level. A lot of it, I use the TTM squeeze. My levels work really well. TTM squeeze just kind of helps me understand if there is buying pressure or selling pressure there at my level. Okay. Resistance right around the trendy edge. Does it mean that I could go short off of that? You're dang right. I could go short off of this once again using that TTM squeeze. I'm looking for dark blue bars up at this level before I decide to go short. But the overall trend is looking pretty good. But you are in a supply zone, folks. That's what this is right in here. Lots of selling pressure, so you want to be careful. If for some reason we blow through this resistance, this area right here where it says trigger short, again, doesn't mean I necessarily just close my eyes and go short. What it means is things have to match up. So if the trend is very bullish and the TTM squeeze is not lining up for me to go short, I'm not going to do anything. However, taking you back to what I was just saying about selling call credit, okay? So I'll go over to the SPY or the ES futures and I can sell some call credits if I'm unsure. I'd much rather sell, okay, just to show this to you really quickly. And if you want to watch videos about credit spreads and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff out there. But the idea is like when we get to this level in here, I'll go over to SPY and I'll sell at the money calls. And then just out of the money, I will buy the calls to protect myself. And if price hits here, comes down, I collect money. Boom. I collect the premium. If price goes sideways and never gets over that level and goes sideways for 2 days, boom, I collect that premium. If price moves over the short side and I get signals on my smaller time frame, I buy back the short side, I'm long the option, and I collect money to the upside. There's 3 ways to win here, ladies and gentlemen, and I can teach you that. If you want to come hang out with us, I'd be happy to do that. Going into the 4 hour, probably one of my favorite time frames. I say one of them, but Quite honestly, I love them all for their own reason. This is the 4 hour. I like that we have two yellow bars here. We have higher lows on the yellow bars here on the TTM squeeze. We went from white to red to green. The momentum has shifted. You can see that we're in this inside and down formation on the 4 hour. We need to break above that 3781, that same level that we looked at higher time frames. On the 5 minutes, folks, I can't make this up. I don't talk a lot about our indicators, but I started doing it here recently because you know what? Everybody needs to know. The PMZ is absolutely amazing. We came up with the PMZ almost 6 years ago, and it works very, very well. What we're looking at here is on Friday, we dipped right into that PMZ. We pushed up 70 points, and then from there, guys, almost over 100 points from the PMZ into the line in the sand, and you can see that we hit our targets very well. Buy signals with the trendy indicators, kind of helping you through that entire day. We had a sweet day here with 300% in trades and also 200% in another trade. It was just a fun day. And then we have the night PMZ. For my members, what I want to tell you is, guess what? I think the night PMZ is fixed. Okay. I think it's fixed on TV. So you can see here on Thinkorswim, it always works for us. That's what these yellow bars are. So for our 5 minute charts tonight, folks, for my members, we're just trading the night PMZ. So if it bids above it, if the risk is okay for your tolerance, we're looking to go long. If it bids below, you can go short, but just know the risk to reward on the short side is not that great at the moment. I think if we do pull back, we'll probably pull back a little bit and then just chop sideways before the big names report. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's go over to Nasdaq. All right, and just really quick. So my overall sentiment on ES futures is neutral. I mean, it's neutral, guys. I mean, it has to be, right? Coming into these big earnings, we're not sure what's going to happen. We just came off of a huge run. I think we need to digest a little bit. But again, day-to-day coaching, day trades until proven otherwise, we're having a really good time. I want to keep the streak alive. Knock on some wood. We're going to have an amazing time. I know we will, and I can't wait to trade with you guys. Nasdaq future, it's about 42 points to every dollar in the QQQ. So same thing, just because you don't trade futures doesn't mean that you cannot use this blueprint to make some money. All right, so here we are looking at our Nasdaq. You can see here we went inside and down. We actually got a sell signal and then immediately kind of reversed that and ended up on the week. These are my trigger long, resistance, and short. Same ideology as the ES futures. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll go short in this area, but just know that this is resistance. I'm using the TTM squeeze to kind of play along with that. And honestly, there's not much to go over. I like the 4 hour here. Same levels as I just showed you, but just know that we're getting close to that resistance. So if we pop tonight and open up off of that strength of Friday, just be wary if we're getting into these resistance areas on the SPY and QQQ or the ES and the NASDAQ. Just be wary as you are opening up into resistance. My go-to most likely in the morning if we open up here is I'm selling credit until proven otherwise. Okay. So not that sexy, but still fun, can still make some money. That's my plan for right now going into this week. I love playing into earnings as well. I have my own technique for that. Typically, it's built around debit spreads and some other ideas. We had great time with it trading Netflix last week, making upwards over 100% there. And I know that we still have traders and Netflix looking for 320 within the next 30 days, I think is how far we bought out. So, yeah, be watching Netflix. Definitely on a watch list for this week. Again, my overall sentiment going into this week, sideways until proven otherwise. I feel bullish. Know where your support levels are. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to tell your friends as well. All right. And watch this BMA, take it in. And again, if you have questions, reach out to me. You guys have a great one. We'll talk to you guys soon.